on the some questions about the mergers and acquisition. We have done some small introduction on the mergers and acquisition. So I want us now to go through some questions. So the first question we can start with should be November 2019, question number 5, part B. November 2019, question number 5, part B. So we start off with a question. November 2019, question number 5, part B. So the question reads that A Limited and B Limited are companies operating in the same line of business. A Limited and B Limited are companies operating in the same line of business. In the past few years, A Limited has experienced stiff competition from B Limited to an extent that A Limited is now contemplating acquiring B Limited. In order to consolidate its market share. The following financial data is available. So they gave you for about the two companies. There is A Limited and also B Limited. So there is annual sales, net income, ordinary shares outstanding, which are in millions. They gave you earning per share, then also market price per share for that case. And now, apart from that, both companies are in the 30% tax brackets. Required, Roman letter 1, maximum exchange ratio that A Limited should agree to, assuming that it does not expect dilution in their post-acquisition earning per share. Roman letter 2, total premium the shareholders of B Limited will agree to receive at the exchange ratio in being Roman letter 1 above. Roman letter 3 is about A Limited post-acquisition earning per share, assuming that the two companies agree on an offer price of 30 shillings. Then finally, Roman letter 4, A Limited post-acquisition earning per share, assuming that for every 100 ordinary shares of B Limited, the shareholders are offered to 12% debentures of 500 per value. So we start off with the Roman letter 1, how to calculate the maximum exchange ratio that A Limited should agree to, assuming that it does not expect dilution in the earning per share. First, we should be able to know how to get the exchange ratio. In our previous class, we discovered that for you to calculate the exchange ratio, it is supposed to be given by offer price, the offer price by the predator, Then we divide by market price per share of the predator, the market price per share of. So the predator is the company acquiring the target. The predator is meant to be the company acquiring the target. But now they are talking about non-diluting exchange ratio. They are mentioning about non-diluting exchange ratio. So to compute non-diluting, to calculate non-diluting exchange ratio, it will now be non-diluting offer price. It will now be non-diluting offer price. Will now be non-diluting offer price. Non-diluting offer price. Then we divide by market price per share of the predator. Market price per share of the predator. That's now how we shall calculate that particular non-diluting offer price. So we need to calculate non-diluting offer price. So non-diluting offer price. Non-diluting offer price. Non-diluting offer price. It is supposed to be given by, the price earning ratio. Price earning ratio of the predator. The price earning ratio of the predator before the acquisition. Before the acquisition. Then we multiplied by earning per share of the target. Earning per share of the target also before the acquisition. So when you want to compute the non-diluting offer price, we come up with that. So price earning ratio, we have seen it in the notes. It is simply market price per share divided by the earning per share. So to compute our price earning ratio. So market price per share of Kukwa Limited, L Limited, I want you to check what are we given as the market price per share of L Limited, because L is the one which is the predator. They have given you 16. So divide by earning per share, which is given us 4. Then multiplied by earning per share of the target. So B Limited is the target. B Limited is the target. It is earning per share has been given us 3. So we compute that figure to give us non-diluting offer price. Non-diluting offer price is simply, so to get the price earning ratio, it is market price per share divided by the earning per share. So that we now come up with the value for that period. Complete, we are getting it now. We are getting 45. So we are getting 45. So we want to get the non-diluting exchange ratio. So it is simply non-diluting offer price now divided by the market price per share of the predator. So now to compute that particular non-diluting exchange ratio. So now you take this non-diluting offer price divided by the market price per share of the predator. So that will be 45. We divide by 60. You take 45 divided by 60. You should be able to take the 45. Then divide by 60. Get to the point? So it should be 0.75 to 1 like that. It will be 0.75 is to 1. And I had shown you that fraction using the formula ABC, that element. So we get it in terms of the shares. So you remember this formula in your calculator. Department here somewhere. Because I want us to get them in form of the shares. So that's not the decimal points. Just press 0.75, then you press it. Sorry?
60 divided by
60 divided by 4. Yield price earning ratio. And prepare formula for notes. Price earning ratio in your notes. So you know this formula. Maybe somewhere you have written. Yeah. So that's what you have done. You have to put a yield price earning ratio. It is simply market price per share divided by the earning per share. So we are using the one for A Limited. A Limited is the predator. What is the market price per share for A Limited? You can see the 60. Check under A Limited whether you can see the market price per share. Then upon you kuna earning per share. Yeah. So that's now what should give you the exchange ratio. Then you need to make the earning per share of the target. So that target is B Limited. What is the earning per share for B Limited? Yeah. So in terms of the shares, we are coming up with what? When we express it, it should be which figure? Now, when you write 0.75, we put there equal sign. Then you press your sign. It is the same as 3:4, like that. So that we don't have decimal points. We don't want the decimal points. So this one is referring to the predator. This one is the predator. Then this one is the target, like that. That one is meant to be the target. So we can conclude that it implies that the predator is offering 3 shares. It implies that the predator is offering 3 shares in order to acquire 4 shares of the target. It implies that the predator is giving 3 shares in order to acquire the 4 shares of the target. In order to acquire the 4 shares of the target. So that is now what we mean by non-diluting exchange ratio. That is now what is meant to be the non-diluting exchange ratio. So we now go to the Roman letter 2. Now go to the Roman letter 2. So under the Roman letter 2, they were asking you total premium that shareholders of B Limited would agree to receive at that exchange ratio. So still in the notes, I've given you a formula on how to calculate the share premium. I've given you a formula on how to compute the share premium. So share premium is supposed to be given by the share premium. The share premium. It is supposed to be given by the offer price. It is supposed to be given by the offer price. Then we minus market price per share of the target. Market price per share of the target. So when we want to calculate the share premium, it is simply the offer price. We minus market price per share of the target. So non-diluting offer price, we had calculated it was 45. It was 45. Then we subtract market price per share of the target. The target is meant to be B Limited. So what are we given as the market price per share for B Limited? They were able to give us 30. So when we subtract, we shall come up with what is supposed to be the share premium, which is going to be how much? 50. But we want the total premium. So total premium, total share premium at the exchange ratio. Total share premium at the exchange ratio. We now take the 15, which we have calculated. Then the shares of the target at the exchange ratio are 4. So multiplied by those 4 shares now to get the total share premium at the exchange ratio. So to get the total share premium at the exchange ratio, you now pick the 15 multiplied by 4. We now take the 15, we multiply by 4. So that should be now your Roman letter 2. That should be now your Roman letter 2, how to compute the share premium, total premium at the that the shareholder should agree to at that particular exchange ratio. So we now go to the Roman letter 3. We can now check the Roman letter 3. When it comes to the Roman letter 3, they are asking that A limited post-acquisition earning per share. A limited post-acquisition earning per share, assuming that the two companies agree on an offer price of 30. So this one is share for share exchange. It will be the share for share exchange. When it is share for share exchange, when it is share for share exchange, that one is meant to be the share for share exchange. When it comes to the share for share exchange, so that Roman letter 3, it is share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. It is meant to be. So how do we get the earning per share of the predator at that portion? So to compute, to calculate acquisition earning per share of the predator, it will be given by the combined earnings. You get the combined earnings of the predator and the target. Of the predator and the target. Then you will be required to divide by number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares of the predator. Then we add new shares to be issued. New shares to be issued to acquire the target. To acquire the target. So when you want to compute what is supposed to be the earning per share of the predator, you simply come up with the combined earnings of the predator and the target. We divide by number of the ordinary shares of the predator, then we add new shares to be issued to acquire the target. So the key item is now how to get the new shares to be issued. So to compute the new shares to be issued, we need to calculate the new exchange ratio. We need to calculate the new exchange ratio, which is simply the offer price, divided by market price per share of the predator, divided by market price per share of the predator. So they have given you the new offer price. They have given you the new offer price. You can see the new offer price in Roman letter 3. They have agreed for an offer price of how much? So we take the 30 shillings, divide by market price per share of the predator. So predator is B limited. You can see it is market price per share It was given as how much? It was given as 60, isn't it? Yeah. So when you divide, it is the same as 0.5 is to 1. It's 0.5. Yeah, but I said we convert them in terms of the shares. Converting them in terms of the shares, I asked you, you press 0.5. Then after that, go to your calculator, there is that side. Then press that side. It will give you in form of the shares. 1 is to 2. So that will be 1 is to 2. So the exchange ratio will be 1 is to 2. So maybe you can just comment that this implies that the predator is offering 1 share. This implies that the predator is offering 1 share in order to acquire 2 shares of the target. The predator is offering 1 share in order to acquire 2 shares of the target. In order to acquire 2 shares of the target. So from that point, we should now come up with the new shares to be issued. We should now come up with new shares to be issued. We should now come up with the new shares to be issued. So new shares to be issued, we have seen that for every 1 share, it should be equivalent to 2 shares of the target. So from this exchange ratio, 1 share of the predator is equivalent to 2 shares of the target. So you check the target is B limited. The target is B limited. So when you check under B limited, they have got how many ordinary shares outstanding in millions? You can see it has 3 million ordinary shares outstanding. It has 3 million ordinary shares outstanding. So how many shares will be issued? How many shares needs to be issued? So you simply cross multiply. You simply cross multiply, whereby it will be 3 millions multiplied by 1 divided by 2. Simply being 3 millions multiplied by 1, then divided by 2. So that means they are issuing how many new shares? 1 point. Yeah. So after that, we now come back to our formula. From there, we should now come back to our formula so that we calculate what is supposed to be our. So combined earnings, we simply add the net incomes. Combined earnings, we simply add the net incomes. So in those net income, are you able to see the net income for A Limited? It is how much? 40 million. We add the net income of B Limited. Net income for B Limited is which figure? 9 million. Then we divide by number of the ordinary shares of the predator and the number of the ordinary shares of A Limited. A Limited has got how many number of ordinary shares? There are 10 millions. Then now we add 1.5 million shares. Those are the new shares to be issued. So now get the earning per share of the predator. So that should now be able to give you earning per share of the predator. It's giving us which figure? 4.26. So here they only ask you for the predator. Sometimes they may ask you also to calculate the one for the target. Sometimes they may ask you to also calculate the one for the target. So if you are to compute also for the target, if you are also to compute the one for the target, so to calculate the one for the target, just in case. earning per share of the target. So if you are to compute the one for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio. You simply take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one of the data. Earning per share of the data. So just in case they require you to calculate the one for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the predator. The one for the predator we have calculated. The exchange ratio we also calculated. Remember, exchange ratio is 1:2. That's the same as 1 divided by 2. Then multiplied by the 4.26. So anything for the target after the acquisition, you take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the predator. You simply take the exchange ratio, you multiply by the one for the predator. So it is giving us which value? 2.13. So that is now, this one was not required that paper, but just in case. They want you to calculate the one for the target. So finally, we go to Roman letter 4. So we can now check the Roman letter 4. So Roman letter 4 is that a limited post-acquisition earning per share, assuming that for every 100 ordinary shares, of B Limited, the shareholders are offered 12% debentures of shillings 100 per value. So that Roman letter 4 is the use of debentures. Now we use the debentures to finance the acquisition. The Roman letter 4 is the use of debentures in order to acquire the target. Use of the debenture. So Roman letter 4, it is about use of the debenture. Roman letter 4 is about use of the debenture. Use of the debenture in order to acquire the target. So when we use the debentures, when we apply the debentures, it is that earning per share of the predator, it will be given by combined earnings. The combined earnings of the predator and the target. Then we less debenture interest, we minus debenture interest, but we normally add the interest tax benefit. We normally add the interest tax benefit. We normally add interest tax benefit. Then once you have done that, you divide by number of the ordinary shares of the predator. Number of the ordinary shares of the predator. So number of the ordinary shares of the predator. So we need to get the number of debentures to be issued. We start by computing number of the debentures. Number of the debentures to be issued. We now come up with number of the debentures to be issued. So to compute number of the debentures to be issued, when you go through the question, they say that that assuming that for every 100 ordinary shares of B Limited, shareholders are offered how many? 2 debentures. So 2 debentures are equivalent to 100 ordinary shares. 2 debentures are equivalent to 100 ordinary shares. So when you check B Limited, which is the target, when you check B Limited, which is the target, it had how many ordinary shares? It had 3 million. Yeah, so if it had 3 million ordinary shares, how many debentures were issued in order to acquire that target? When you cross multiply, 3 million multiplied 2 divided by 100. It will be 60,000 debentures. So it will be able to give you 60,000 debentures. So now we compute interest. We calculate interest. So to get interest on the debentures, so there are 60,000 debentures. The bar value of each debenture was given. What are you given as the bar value of the debenture? So multiplied by 500, then you get 12%. The interest rate is 12%. Now you get 12% of that to give us the amount for the interest. So after getting the number of the debentures, each debenture is worth 500. And the interest rate has been given as 12%. So that should give us how much interest? It gives us 3.6 million. It's giving you 3.6 million. So now after that point, so we go back to this point, combined earnings of the predator and the target. They were basically the net incomes which had been given. The net income was 40 millions plus 9 millions. The 40 millions plus the 9 millions. Then now you minus the venture interest, which is 3.6 millions. 3.6 millions. Then interest tax benefit, you simply take the interest multiplied by the tax rate. Interest tax benefit, you simply take the interest, which is 3.6 million. The corporate tax rate was given to you before required. Both companies are in what percent tax bracket? So multiplied by 0.3, then divide by the number of the ordinary shares for the predator. Remember, the number of the ordinary shares should be the one for the predator. There were how many ordinary shares for A Limited? There were 10 million ordinary shares. So divide by the 10 million ordinary shares so that you come up with what should be the earning per share of the predator when we use the debentures. When we use the debentures. $4.65. So that is now in relation to that question. Our next question will be April 2022. We check now the one for April 2022. April 2022. Question number 5, part A. We check April 2022. There is a question number 5, part A. April 2022. Question number 5, part A. April 2022. Question number 5, part A. So that question 5, part A, the one for the last sitting, they gave you about Sonko Limited has decided to acquire Trigger Limited. So that part B is not to not be there, is a coordination. So the financial data for the two companies are given as follows. The financial data for the two companies are given as follows. So you are given net sales for Songo and also Trigger. Profit after tax is the net income. They also gave you number of the issued shares, which are in millions. Also earning per share. They have also given you dividend per share. Total market capitalization. That is the total market value of equity. Total market capitalization will be the same as the total market value of equity. So that question did not give you the market price per share. So for us to get the market price per share, take that total market capitalization, which is the total market value for equity, then divide by the number of the ordinary share. That's how you will come up with the market price per share. So now required, when you go to required Roman letter 1, pre-acquisition market price per share for the combined company. That is the same as the way we have explained. We take that total market capitalization, divide by the number of the ordinary shares to get the market price. But they are want it combined. We shall be able to see how it works for that. Roman letter 2 was the acquisition earning per share if Quicker Limited shareholders are offered a share of 13 on a share for share exchange. Roman letter 2, the price earning ratio of Songo Limited drops to 12%, 12 times after the acquisition. Determine the post-acquisition market price per share. So the first thing we do, Roman letter 1, first we get the market price per share. Roman letter 1, they would like you to calculate the market price per share. So to compute the market price per share, market price per share. Market price per share should be equal to total market value of equity, total market value of equity, total market value of equity, which they are referring to us. They are referring to us the total market capitalization. When you check through, that is the same as total market capitalization, or simply, or total market capitalization. Total market capitalization. Then after that, we divide by the number of the ordinary shares. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So we compute for each company before we combine them. So we start the one for Songo Limited. So for this one, total market capitalization was given as 420 millions in shillings. 420 millions. Then number of the ordinary shares issued, they are also in millions. So somewhere it was 7.5 millions. Yeah, so when you divide, it should be able to give us which figure. Sorry, it's 56 shillings per share. I might have some decimal points. Then we also compute the one for Trigger Limited. We also calculate the one for Trigger Limited. So for Trigger, you take 45 millions. It is 45 millions. We divide by what? 1.5 millions. So that should be able to give us which total? To give us that. So they want the combined. the combined will be the weighted average. The combined will be weighted average. So to get the combined market price per share, so it is the same as the weighted average. It's the same as the weighted average. So for the weighted average, we use this total. There is 420 plus 45. You see the 420 plus 45 to give us a total of, yeah, so for Songo, you take 420 millions, divide by the total, which I've said is 400 and what? 465. That's now the proportion of Songo in the combined. When we combine 420 plus 45, then now after that proportion multiplied by 56, then we add. Trigger, you take 45 as it is proportion, also divide by 465, then multiply by 30. So that's now how you combine them together to get the combined market price per share before the acquisition. To get the combined market price per share before the acquisition. Get the combined market price per share before the acquisition. So it should be able to give you which figure? Sorry? 53.48. So that should be now the combined price, which is meant to be our Roman letter 1. So we need to go to the Roman letter 2. Now, prayers in answer sangapi. So we can have a short break. We can have a short break for the prayers before we proceed.
Quando clicou no display, that's up. Thanks. Najua kufanya Actually, mimi nipata ifanya macho ya kupata jinsi nini LCM. I know. Najua hesabu ya primary. Najua hesabu ya primary ni wacheka. Hilo na multiplication hiyo na common whatever the share is common. So we can 0.5. Yes. Yes. Nilikuwa chaoa.
So let us now go to the Roman letter 2. We go to the Roman letter 2. So Roman letter 2 is meant to be, Roman letter 2 was meant to be the earning per share if they use the share for share exchange. So Roman letter 2 is share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. So when it is share for share exchange, first we compute the exchange ratio. we shall first come up with the exchange ratio, which is supposed to be given by the offer price. The offer price divided by market price per share of the predator. The offer price divided by the market price per share of the predator. So offer price in the Roman letter 2 has been given as 30 shillings. The offer price in the Roman letter 2, they were able to give us 30 shillings. So we divide by market price per share of the predator. We have calculated in Roman letter 1. We got 50 what? So divide by 56. Let's see what you come up with. So it should be 0. It has so many decimal points. So if it has so many decimal points, remember what you have to do. After getting that, press ABC. Now press this side on your calculator. 15 is 2. So 15 is 28. 15 is 28. Once you have calculated 3/56, put there the equal sign as an answer. Then after that, press this side. It will give you those digits, so that you don't have to use those many decimal points, isn't it? Yeah, so that's now the exchange ratio. That will be the exchange ratio. So our exchange ratio is the predator will give 15 shares in order to acquire 28 shares of the target. So that is now the easiest way on how to go about. So now from that point, the number of the shares to be issued. Now to get number of the shares to be issued, number of the shares to be issued, number of the shares to be issued. It will now be 15 shares are equivalent to 28 shares. But we know the target has got how many shares? The target is Trigger Limited. So Trigger Limited has how many number of the shares? 1.5 million shares. So when you cross multiply, how many shares should be issued? When we cross multiply, how many shares should be issued? When you cross multiply, how many shares should be issued?
8 or 3, 5, 7,
7.
8 or 3.
8 is that 3?
Yes.
Then
5, 7, 1. Or just 6, 7 because it's a decimal.
so when you round off comes to that point.
It's 24.
So it just be 1. So that now will be able to give you the value. So once you have done that, we can now compute what should be the earning per share.
The 8 or 3, 5, 7, 1. Like 5 marabi.
So it is 8,000.
803,000.
8 million.
No, 803.
833.
803.
803.
571.
571 like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is now how many number of shares to be issued. So once you have done that, we now compute the earning per share of the predator after the merger. So after that, now you compute. So to calculate earning per share of the predator, remember it is simply the combined earnings. The combined earnings. combined earnings, then number of the shares of the predator, because it is share for share exchange, number of the shares of the predator. Then we add new shares to the sheet. You add the shares. Then we add the new shares to be issued. So combined earnings, we already have it. Combined earnings. So for the combined earnings is the profit after tax. Profit after tax, there is 28,130,000. We write them in full. Then the one for trigger, it is how much? 3,750,000. Then the number of the ordinary shares for Songo, it was 7.5 million. And now you add 8,357. So combined earnings, you simply add the profit after tax. So profit after tax, they gave you in millions, shillings in millions. So we write them in full in that order. So it should be giving us which value?
3.84.
3.84.
Yeah.
So we get 3.84. So that should be our Roman letter 2. So after that, we got the Roman letter 3. Are we getting 3.84?
Yeah.
So let us now go to the Roman letter 3. Roman letter 3 is that if the price earning ratio of somewhat drops to 12 times after the acquisition, determine the firm's post-acquisition market price per share. So the concept there is the price earning ratio. The concept is the price earning ratio. The concept for that item is the price earning ratio. So price earning ratio, it is supposed to be given by market price per share divided by the earnings per share. Price earning ratio should be given by market price per share divided by the earnings per share. So we make market price per share to be the subject. We make market price per share to be the subject. So it will simply be the price earning ratio multiplied by the earning per share. So the question wanted the market price per share of the predator after the acquisition. So to compute now this acquisition market price per share of the predator. So it will be given by the price earning ratio. The price earning ratio. But you also multiply by earning per share of the predator. earning per share. So the price earning ratio has been given. It drops to how many times? It drops to 12 times. Then we going to calculate Roman letter 2. You see the Roman letter 2, the post-acquisition earning per share of the letter. Roman letter 2, you got which field? 3.84. Yeah, so that is now the procedure for that. That should be now the procedure on that element. So it should give us which back? 46.08. Yeah, so I also want us to check the question for December 2021. Also check the one for December 2021. December 2021, question number 2, part B. We also, the one for the exam, there are 2 December 2021, pilot paper and the exam. So we do the one for the exam. December 2021, question number 2, part B. December 2021, question number 2, part B. Check December 2021, question number 2, part B. December 2021, question number 2, part B. So when you go through that question 2, part B, they have stated that Kubwa Limited is considering acquiring Dogo Limited. Kubwa Limited is considering acquiring Dogo Limited. The selected financial data for the 2 companies is as follows. The selected data for the 2 companies is as follows. So they gave you annual sales, shillings in millions. They gave you net income, which are also in shillings and also in millions. Number of the ordinary shares, which are in millions. Earning per share is given. Market price per share is given. So both companies are in the 30% tax bracket. Both companies are in the 30% tax brackets. So required from letter 1. Kubwa Limited post-acquisition earning per share. Assuming the 2 companies settle or not, an offer price of 20 shillings on the share for share exchange. So Roman letter 1 is share for share exchange. Roman letter 2, Kubwa Limited post-acquisition earning per share. Assuming Dogo Limited shareholders accept 1 10% debenture, bar value of 1,000 for every 50 ordinary shares held. Then finally, Roman letter 3, the level of the combined earnings, that is the profit before interest and tax, that Kubwa Limited will be in difference between the financing options in part B, Roman letter 1, and part B, Roman letter 2. So they are simply asking you to calculate earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. At the point of indifference, the earnings before interest and tax for the 2 options should be the same. So we need to come up with that. But let us first go to the Roman letter 1. So Roman letter 1, it is share for share exchange. Roman letter 1, it is share for share exchange. Roman letter 1, it is simply share for share exchange. So Roman letter 1, it is meant to be share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. So when it comes to the share for share exchange, first, we also calculate the exchange ratio. We come up with the exchange ratio. which is supposed to be the offer price, divide by market price per share of the predator. Divide by market price per share of the predator. So that offer price was given in the Roman letter 1. They offered a price of how much? They offered a price of 20. But when you check under Kukwa Limited, you can see under Kukwa Limited, the market price per share is given as 30. So we come up with that exchange ratio. So if it has decimal points, I've shown you how to convert them into shares. If it has decimal, so 20 divided by 30, you get the answer. So if it has some decimal point, press ABC to convert them into shares. 2:3. Yeah, so the exchange ratio is meant to be 2:3. So from there, you get the new shares to be issued. New shares to be issued. So new shares to be issued, 2 shares are equivalent to 3 shares. So 2 shares of the predator are equivalent to 3 shares of the target. 3 shares of the target. So the target is Ndogo Limited. So how many shares does Ndogo Limited have? Number of the ordinary shares of Ndogo, it is 2.5 million. They are given 2.5 million shares. So how many shares will be issued when you cross multiply? So we need to get the number of the shares to be issued. This 1 million. So we give them that order. So now after that, we can calculate earning per share of the predator. Remember, it is simply the combined earnings. It is simply the combined earnings. Get the combined earnings. You divide by the number of the ordinary shares of the predator. Number of ordinary shares of the predator. Then you add new shares to be issued. Shares to be issued. So combined earnings, you add the net income. Combined earnings, we add the net income. So there is 40 million plus what? So you take 40 millions, you add 5 millions. Number of the shares of the predator are how many? The number of the shares for Cooper. There are 10 million ordinary shares. Then remember to add 1,666,000. Sorry, 3.86. So that should be the Roman letter 1. That should be the Roman letter 1. We now go to the Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2 is use of the debentures. Roman letter 2 is meant to be use of the debentures. So Roman letter 2 is meant to be use of the debenture. Roman letter 2 is basically use of debenture. So when we are using debentures, you recall how to compute the earning per share of the creditor. Remember, it was simply the combined earnings. You get the combined earnings. You subtract the debenture interest, we minus the debenture interest. Then we add the interest tax benefit. Add the interest tax benefit. Then you divide by the number of the ordinary shares of the creditor. Number of the ordinary shares of the creditor. So we need to get the number of the debentures to be issued. So we need to come up with the number of debentures to be issued. Number of the debentures to be issued. Number of the debentures to be issued. So they had said that in that Roman letter 2. So one debenture is equivalent to 50 ordinary shares. They accept 10% debenture. So one debenture is equivalent to 50 ordinary shares. 50 ordinary shares. So the target is Ndogo. Ndogo has 2.5 million ordinary shares. Ndogo has 2.5 million ordinary shares. So how many debentures were issued? We cross multiply to come up with the number of the debentures. $15,000. 50,000 debentures. So after that, now you calculate the interest. So to get interest, take the 50,000 debentures. Our value per debenture was given as what? It was 1,000. And the interest rate is given as what percent? 10%. 25 minutes. So once you get that, we go back and get the earning per share of the creditor. So once we have done that, we can now come back up here. So combined earnings, we know the values. We simply add 40 millions plus 5 millions. So it is 40 millions plus the 5 millions. You subtract interest, that said is 5 millions. Then interest tax benefit, it is 5 million multiplied by the corporate tax, which is 30%. Number of the ordinary shares of the predator, there were 10 million ordinary shares. So divide by 10 million ordinary shares. So that we shall be able to come up with. So you are getting which figure? 4.15. So we go to Roman letter 3. The level of the combined operating profit that Kubwa Limited will be in difference between the financing option 1 and option 2. So that is the same as at the point of indifference. So at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as the earning per share for option 2. So at the point of indifference, it means that earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. Also, at the point of indifference, earnings before interest and tax for option 1 will be the same as earnings before interest and tax for option 2. That's now the implication of the point of indifference. So at the point of indifference, earning per share for the two options will be the same. Also, earnings before interest and tax for the two options will also be the same. So we shall be computing the two items for both to show that point of indifference. So we start by analyzing option 1. We start off by analyzing option 1. We start off by analyzing option 1. So option 1, it was share for share exchange, which means that it is all equity financed. All equity financed. All equity financed. So when it is all equity financed, to compute earning per share for option 1 will be given by earnings before interest and tax 1 minus the tax rate. We divide by number of the ordinary shares. So when it is all equity financed firm, to come up with earning per share for option 1, it will simply be earnings before interest and tax 1 minus the tax rate. We divide by the number of the ordinary shares. So earning before interest and tax, we don't know it. It is one of the items we are looking for. So it will simply be earnings before interest and tax. The tax rate was 30%. Was it 30%? That will be 0.3. Then I want you to check under option 1. You can see our option 1. In Roman letter 1 is our option 1. Our Roman letter 1 is meant to be. So check the denominator. Check the denominator of our Roman letter 1. How many shares were there in total? When you add them together, the number of the shares of the predator plus the shares to be issued. Sorry? 11 millions. Yeah. So those are the number of the ordinary shares under option 1. So finally, it will simply be equal to 0.7. That 1 minus 0.3 is the same as 0.7. So 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. We divide by 1166. So that is now the formula for option 1. So we need to create the one for option 2. So after the formula for option 1, we also come up with the one for option. So let us analyze also option 2. We should now also be able to analyze option 2. So option 2, it is equity and debt financed because they are giving debentures to acquire ordinary shares. So we go to option 2. We go to option 2. So option 2, it will be equity and debt financed farm. Equity and debt financed farm. So option 2, it is equity and debt financed farm, whereby earning per share should be given by earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest. Then 1 minus the tax rate. We divide by number of the ordinary shares. So it will still be earnings before interest and tax. Interest, I want you to go to option 2. Remember Roman letter 2 of the question. How much did we get as interest? When you check under Roman letter 2. We got 5. Everything you refer to what you calculated in Roman letter 2. 5 million, then 1 minus 0. We also check the denominator. There were how many number of the ordinary shares under that Roman letter 2? There were 10. Like that. There were 10 minutes. So it will now be 1 minus 0.3 the same as 0.7. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. I also want you to take the 5 million multiply 0, because you are simply opening the brackets. You are simply opening the brackets. So, yeah. Sorry, are you not allowed to say 1 minus 0.7? So is it myself trying? I got to understand. 0.7. Yes. Sasa ukifungua brackets. Yeah. It is time to save time for example. So it will be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Then also take 5 minimum by 0.7. 3.5 millions. Then now we divide by 10 millions. So those are now the two formulas that we have. Those are now meant to be our two formulas. So once you have those two formulas, we go back to what we had initially. Go back. So we have said that at the point of indifference, earning per share for option 1 will be the same as earning per share for option 2. So option 1 was this formula. It was 0.7 earnings before interest and tax. Divide by 11,666,667. Option 2 is this one here. 0.7 earnings before interest and tax minus 3.5 million. Then divide by 10 millions. So maybe you can put there this one as at this point, but now. Yes. So I want you to cross multiply, make the earnings before interest and tax be the subject. We now cross multiply that portion so that we make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. So when you cross multiply, it should be 0.7 earnings before interest and tax multiplied by 10 should be equal to 11.666 multiplied by 0.7 earnings before interest and tax minus. So open the brackets, make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. Open the brackets, then you make earnings before interest and tax to be the subject. Sorry. So, earnings before it is 34 points. After 9 years, wow. Nataka to confirm that it is at the point of indifference. When you round off, you may not get the correct figure. You need to show the point of indifference. Earning per share for the two options must be the same at the point of indifference. So we are getting 34,999,994 like that. So we want to confirm now using these two formulas whether they will give you the same earning per share option. So the question only wanted is this is what was required for the question. But I think sometimes they ask you to calculate earning per share and earnings before interest and tax at the point of indifference. So for option 1, earning per share for option 1, it is 0.7. This is the formula for option 1. So it is simply 0.7. Earnings before interest and tax is 34,999,994. Then divide by the number of the ordinary shares are 11,66667. So that should give you earning per share for option 1. You also confirm earning per share for option 2. For option 2, you use this formula, whereby it will be 0.7 multiplied by 34 999,994. And you minus 3.5 million. Then we divide by 10 million. So confirm whether the two are giving you the same figure as the earning per share. So confirm whether the two they are giving us which figure? We get 2.1. So if it is 2.1, then it is correct. At the point of indifference, earning per share for the two options will be the same, and also earnings before interest and tax for the two options must be the same. So mergers and acquisition, they test everything. So we do two more other questions, then we move out of it. Yeah, they test every, but nowadays it is now kind of max. It ranges between 8 up to 12. But the questions are not that huge, small structured questions. So maybe we can also check the one for September. We check the one for September 2021. We check the one for September 2021. September 2021, question number 5, part C. We check the one for September. September 2021, question number 5, part C. September 2021, question number 5, part C. So question 5, part C for September 2021. They have said that Duncan Kipchumba, the director of Water Limited, meet Lewis Haminwa, the director of Tower Limited, during a conference in Kisumu City. So they had some discussion about the two companies. After flying back to Nairobi, Duncan Kipchumba proposed to his board of directors about the acquisition of Tower Limited. So during the presentation to the board, he stated that as a result of this takeover, we would diversify our operations and the earnings per share would rise by 13%, bringing greater benefits to our shareholders. So no bid has yet been made, and the Water Limited currently owns what percent? 2% of Tower Limited, a bid that will be based on the exchange of the share between the two companies, which will be 1 Water Limited share for every 6. So it is share for share exchange. They have already given you exchange ratio. Exchange ratio is that 1 share of water will be exchanged against 6 shares of Tower Limited. So financial data for the two companies include the following. They have given it turnover is the same as the sales. Profit after tax, that is the gross profit. Then profit attributable to the ordinary shareholder. That's now the profit after tax. So profit attributable to the ordinary shareholders is now the profit after tax. When you calculate the combined income, the combined net and so the combined earnings, you will be using the profit attributable to the ordinary shareholders. They have also given you dividends payable, also issued. You can see the issued ordinary share capital. It is in shillings in millions. So it is in shillings and also in what? In millions. Then market price per share is given. Par value per share is also given. So far, the question has not given you the number of the ordinary shares. So to get the number of the ordinary shares, you simply take the issued ordinary share capital, which is in shillings and in millions, divide by the par value per share. That will give you the number of the ordinary shares for water and TOA, because they were not provided. So now required, they want you to calculate pre-merger price earning ratio for both companies. So price earning ratio is simply market price per share divided by the earning per share. So they have not been given, we shall be calculating them because the question only gave you the market price per share. There is no earning per share. We need to calculate that. Also, the post-merger earning per share. That's now they combine. They have already given you the exchange ratio. So it is easier now to come up with that. Then, from matter 3, they wanted you to explain whether you agree with Duncan that earnings will go up by 13%. We should confirm that. Then finally, raw matter 4, post-acquisition price of a share of water, assuming the bid is successful. So the question is just a repetition. When we do it, the concept is still one item. So the first part is the raw matter 1. How to compute the price earning ratio. So before we get the price earning ratio, we are lacking the number of the ordinary shares. We need to come up with what is supposed to be the number of the ordinary shares. So to compute the number of the ordinary shares, we need to calculate the number of ordinary shares. We need to calculate the number of the ordinary shares. So you start with Water Limited. You start off with Water Limited. So for Water Limited, you can see the issued ordinary share capital in shillings in millions. It is how much? So you take the 20 millions, divide by the par value per share. Par value per share for water, it is given as 0.5. So when you divide, you will get the number of the ordinary shares for Water Limited. There are 40 millions. Then you also compute for TOA Limited. We also calculate for TOA Limited. So TOA Limited, it is 15 millions. We also divide by what? 0.1. So that should give us which here? 150 millions. Then apart from that, we also need the earning per share. We also calculate earning per share for each company. To get the earning per share for each company, it is earnings available. It is earnings available. Earnings available. You divide by number of the ordinary shares. So to get the earning per share, you simply take. So earnings available is what I referred to as profit attributable to the ordinary shareholders. So we start with the Water Limited. We start with the Water Limited. So earnings attributable to Water Limited is 7. So you take 7.8 millions, divide by 40 million ordinary shares. We have just calculated up there. $0.15. 195. So we also calculate the one for TOA Limited. So for TOA Limited, you see the attributable profit, it is 6.5. So 6.5 millions. We also divide by 150 million ordinary shares. So that we come up with what should be the earning per share. So here in a good 0.04. There is no 8. Yeah, so you can just have it as 3 decimal places so that they are combined. So now from there we are answering the Roman letter 1. Pre-merger price earning. Those who are just the workings. So now to get the pre-merger price earning ratio. So price earning ratio, it is supposed to be given by the price earning ratio. It is simply market price per share divided by earning per share. The price earning ratio. So we calculate for both companies. Pre-merger is before the merger. So we start with the Water Limited. We start with Water. So market price per share for Water Limited. 3 point. So earning per share was 0 point. Sorry. 0.195. We have just calculated those figures. Then also the one for TOA Limited. So for TOA Limited, 0.45 divided by what? So 0.043. Yeah, so that is now your price earning ratio. That now should give you the price earning ratio. So that is Roman letter 1, pre-merger. So we go to Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2 is post-merger earning per share. So post-merger earning per share, but it is share for share exchange. It is share for share exchange. They have already given you the exchange ratio. So Roman letter 2, it is share for share exchange. Share for share exchange. So we simply start by looking for the number of the shares to be issued. Number of shares to be issued. So to get the number of the shares to be issued, in the paragraph before the financial data, you can see the exchange ratio. 1 share is equivalent to 6 shares. So the target is TOA. TOA, we calculated there were how many million ordinary shares? There were 150 million ordinary shares. So how many shares should be issued? Cross multiply, we get the number of the new shares to be issued. Sorry? 25 minutes. Yes. Yeah. So now we are calculating application. Earning per share of the regulator. So remember the formula when it is share for share exchange, It is combined earnings divided by the number of the shares of the predator plus the new shares to be issued. So combined earnings are those profits attributable to the ordinary shareholders. So you take 7.8 millions. You add 6.5 millions. So that is now our combined earnings. You simply add the profit attributable to the ordinary shareholders. Then number of the ordinary shares of the predator. How many shares were there for what we calculated? Sorry? There are 40 millions. Now we are issuing how many shares? 25 millions. So that should be able to give us the post-acquisition earning per share of the predator. Post-acquisition earning per share of the predator. Sorry? 0.22. So we get 0.22. 0.22. So we can also calculate for the target. They only specify, they did not specify for both, but they just say post-merger earning per share, isn't it? So we can also calculate the one for the target. This one is for the predator. So we can also calculate the one for the target. Just in case. So for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio. You take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the predator. You simply take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the predator. So exchange ratio is 1 divided by 6. It is 1 to 6. Exchange ratio is 1 to 6. Then multiplied by 0.22, the one that we have just calculated. So anything for the target, you simply take the exchange ratio multiplied by the one for the predator. We simply take the exchange ratio, we divide by the one for the predator. So after that, we now go to the Roman letter 3, where they were asking you to explain whether you agree with Duncan Kipchumba. So Kipchumba had said in the paragraph number 2. You can see the paragraph number 2. He said that earnings would rise by what percent? 13%. You want to confirm that, whether it is going up by 13%. So to confirm that, we take this one. This is after the merger, isn't it? We also calculated before the merger in the Roman letter 1 and see whether it has gone up by 13%. So let us calculate the increase in the earning per share of the predator, because they are saying that Kipchumba had proposed that that's the paragraph number 2. During his presentation, he stated that as a result of his takeover, we will diversify our operations and earning per share will rise by what percent? So we want to know whether it has gone up by 13%. We want to know whether that earning per share has gone up by 13%. So let us get the percentage change in the earning per share. We want to get the percentage change in the earning per share for the predator. We want to get the percentage change. Percentage change in the earning per share. So in the Roman letter 2, what was the earning per share for the predator? It was 0.195. The Roman letter 2. Yeah, so this is now after the merger. Before the merger in the Roman letter, what we need some working for water limited.
0.195.
0.195. Yeah, so we are taking earning per share of water after the merger minus earning per share of water before the merger. Also divide again by before the merger and see that figure has gone up by what percent? 12.82. 12.82.
Yes.
So roughly, maybe we can give him a benefit of doubt as 13%. So roughly, we can give a benefit of doubt. That is a small margin, which round off will be that. So we agree with him. So the explanation in the Roman letter 3 is that we agree with his comment. We agree with his comment since earning per share has increased by 13%. We agree with the comment because earning per share has increased by 13%. We agree with his comment because earning per share has gone up by 13%. So finally, Roman letter 4. Finally, the Roman letter 4. So Roman letter 4 is simply post-acquisition price of share of water limited, assuming the bid is what? Yeah, so the concept is still the price earning ratio. It is still the price earning ratio. You remember it was market price per share divided by earning per share. So when you make market price per share to be the subject, market price per share to be the subject, it will be the price earning ratio multiplied by earning per share levels. So this one should be post-acquisition market price per share should be equal to the price earning ratio multiplied by post-acquisition earning per share. So most of the time, the price earning ratio remain constant. So we simply compute it from this point. We simply calculate it from that point. So before the merger, we are on water limited. What was the market price per share for water limited? Under water limited, market price per share is given. It is 3.2. Then remember earning per share of water before the merger 0.195. Yeah, so it is 0.195. So I just use it directly at that point. 3.2 divided by 0.195. So this post-acquisition earning per share is 0.22. Remember? Yeah. So this post-acquisition earning per share is 0.22. So multiplied by 0.22. So that now should give you the post-acquisition market price per share. It should be able to be 0. So we get 3.61. Yeah, so that's now for that. So when we meet in our next class, which is tomorrow, I will do one more question. Then we go to the restructuring and the reorganization. So we can stop there for now.